Hola mi gente, happy Wednesday, happy hump day. The weekend is almost here and the body definitely knows it. So that means we gotta shake up some cocktails. I am your host, Carlos Ruiz, and we're gonna be making three delicious drinks. A take on a margarita, a take on a French 75, and a take on an old fashioned. But before we even get started about the drinks, I just wanna say a big thank you to everybody that helped me out in setting all this up. So, big thank you to Miss Morristown, Jersey Club Sports, The Great Gatsby Salon, and Strix Media. Now, Strix Media is my partner. They have been able to hook up all these beautiful lights. Also, if you're looking for a great headshot, if you're trying to become an actor, or you're just breaking it down with some dance moves for your social media pages, please make sure to hit Strix Media up and they will be able to help you out with any of that and even more. Now, throughout this virtual cocktail class, please drop any comments or any questions that you have in the chat. I'll make sure to answer as many as possible. So, one last thing before we get started with the cocktails. Why? Because we need subscribers. So hit that subscribe button. It's going to mean the world to us, and we're going to be able to create content like this every single day. So, without further ado, let's shake up some cocktails, right? We're going to start off with the StickyCounters margarita. Now, we're going to need a cocktail shaker. Now, you might be looking at this, you're like, Carlos, that's a fancy tool. I don't have that. I don't want to spend $12 to $15 on that. What else can I use? Well, you have a mason jar. A mason jar with a lid. You could build your cocktail in that, cover it, and you can shake it up. So this works totally fine. Also, if you have a quart container at home, or even one of those Yeti mugs that you could put your coffee in, or even one of those protein shaker thingies, that totally works. As long as you have a lid on it, you can shake it up. You're going to have a cocktail in no time. Now, the next thing that's very important is your jigger. Now, what is a jigger? A jigger is a measuring tool that bartenders, mixologists, whatever you want to call them, we're shaking up cocktails anyway, is a measuring tool that's going to give you precise portions to be able to shake up a consistent cocktail every single time. But if you don't have this bad boy, that is totally fine. We have a shot glass. A shot glass equals 1.5 ounces. And even if you don't have that, you could go to your kitchen, grab a teaspoon, grab a tablespoon. You could also use that as a measuring tool. The tablespoon equals 1/2 ounce. A teaspoon equals 1/4 ounce. And even if you don't have that, I'm just throwing out some sticky tips out there. Grab a solo cup. I'm sure everybody had played, a little bit of flip cup, back in the day, or even now, no judgment. Now, the cool thing about it is that at the bottom ledge of that red solo cup, if you measure it out, it's going to be 1/4 ounce. So you could even use a solo cup to make these delicious cocktails. You don't need any of these fancy tools. So yeah, let's get started with the cocktail. Now, apart from your shakers, let's set it to the side. The first ingredient that we're going to need is our lime. Now, we're going to put the lime in front, and we're going to squeeze it. Now, the reason that I'm squeezing the lime is because we want to make it a little bit softer so it's easier on your wrist when you're squeezing that. But you're also releasing all those aromatics, all those oils. I mean, I wish you could really smell the room. You could use it as perfume, a little cologne. It's all good. And now we're just going to cut it right in half. Now, another sticky tip is 1 lime equals about 1 ounce. So half a lime could be about 1/2 ounce. It all depends on the size of the lime that you have. But let's grab our hand juicer. Let's grab our jigger. And we're going to measure out 3/4 ounce right in there. And what is the lime bringing to this margarita? Where first of all, tequila and lime is a perfect pairing. It's a perfect marriage. There's no cheating involved. It's always delicious. And we're going to put 3/4 ounce, but it's going to bring that acidity that you want in the margarita. And because we were rolling everything out, now the juice has those oils, the natural oils that brings a lot of aromatic, but is also adding texture that you want in your cocktails. So we're going to throw 3/4 ounce of that. Now, what is tequila made from? Well, tequila is made from 51% blue Weber agave. Those are your rules. So instead of adding regular simple syrup, that's 1 cup sugar, 1 cup water, we're going to be doing some agave syrup. And we're going to do 1/2 ounce of that. It's a bit thicker than your simple syrup because I like to do a 2-to-1 ratio when making the agave syrup. But if you don't need to dilute it with water. You could just go to the store and buy the agave nectar right in the bottle, and you could use the 1/2 ounce. That's totally fine. So we're going to do half an ounce of that. And now we're going to add some bitters. Now, what are bitters, right? Bitters are, let me put it this way. You have a steak, you have some chicken, you have some salmon, you have some scallops. Basically, you have food. How do you flavor it? Salt and pepper. Bitters are the salt and pepper of cocktails. They're able to really enhance everything that you're putting in the drink. So let's say you're making a Manhattan, an old-fashioned, another margarita, or literally anything, and you're like, that thing is missing something. What can I add? Well, bitters is your go-to, and you need to have 2 classic bitters at home at all times. Angostura bitters, aromatic, and then your orange bitters. And you're gonna have perfect cocktails every single time. Now, we're gonna add 2 dashes of the bitters into the tin, but be careful when you're putting the bitters in there. I don't wanna see anybody going like this, like 1, 2, because it's not gonna be a precise measurement. What you wanna do is grab it with the purpose and go 1, 2, and that's 2 dashes of the bitters. So now that we've added that salt and pepper, we're gonna grab the next ingredient, which is our green apple. Now with the green apple, we're just gonna cut it right in half. Boom. Make sure to wash it. We're gonna cut it one more time, right in half. And we're gonna cut it one more time. Perfect. Now what you're gonna do is you're just gonna throw that right in there and throw the other piece right in there. And now you're gonna bring out the muddler. Now, if you don't have this muddling tool, that is fine. You can use the back of a spoon. You can maybe, if you have a brand new hammer, I mean, you can use that too. But we're gonna be muddling this apple. Now, what this is doing, the muddling, is really just getting all the aromatics again, all those fresh juices of the apple. And I love utilizing some green apple in my cocktails because it's not as sweet. It's adding like a little bit of acidity with the perfect balance of sweetness. That's gonna go very well with the next ingredient. All right, so now that we've muddled everything, let's put this to the side. And now the main ingredient is your tequila. Now, I am using Yayo tequila, and there's a reason why I'm using this product, is because it's coming from the highlands of Jalisco. And what does that mean, Carlos? You're like, highlands? I don't know what highlands are. Well, highlands is the northern part of Mexico and Jalisco, and because of the climate and the soil, it's gonna yield more of a sweeter vanilla, toffee, caramel tequila because of the climate and the soil. Now, if you go to the lowlands in Mexico, because of the soil and the climate, you know, the terroir is gonna have more of an herbal, earthy, peppery, almost like a sugar snap pea flavor. But in this case, I wanted something that kind of gave you a hug without like, you know, baking spices of the vanilla, the toffee, the caramel. And we're gonna be doing 2 ounces of this beautiful Yayo tequila. So we flip it over and we'll do 2 ounces. And you don't have to do that fancy pour. I'm on camera, so I have to look cool, but it's all good. So we do 2 ounces of that right in there. And now you have all those flavors really combining. It smells great. And the next ingredient, and yes, it's an ingredient, it's ice. We're gonna fill up your shakers with ice. And the reason I called ice an ingredient is because you need about 15 to 18% water dilution when you're shaking up the cocktail to be able to have, you know, the balanced cocktail.
Someone asked if you could please repeat the ingredients that you've gone through so far.
Yes, so we just got a question of if I wanted to, I needed to repeat the ingredients. So yes, so we need some tequila. You have your green apples, fresh lime juice, and agave. So we're gonna be adding 3/4 ounce of fresh lime juice in your tin, half an ounce of the agave. We're gonna cut up the apple and put an apple wedge into the tin, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, and 2 ounces of your tequila. We're gonna muddle all that, and now we're up to the point of adding some ice into the tin. So we have that in there. And now, if you have the same tins as I do, the cocktail shakers, what you wanna do is grab the big tin, put it right on top. You wanna hit it 2 times, boom, boom, to really lock everything in, or else it's gonna explode on you, and you don't wanna get your nice clothes, or maybe on the couch if you're making the cocktails on the couch, or even your kitchen island. You don't wanna mess any of that up. So now we flip it, think of your favorite song, because if you don't dance, the cocktail's not gonna taste the same. So just shake it up. There you go. And now we crack it open. I mean, look at that. You can hear it sizzling. Not like a steak, but still sizzling. All good stuff. let's grab our rocks glass. And now, some people might say, Carlos, there's no salt in the rim for this margarita. Well, to be honest, I don't want the salt in this particular recipe because I feel like all the other flavors are already working well with each other. But, if you're a fan of salt in your margarita, please go ahead and put it on the rim. Or if you like tajin, that dehydrated chili with lime, that's also perfect for this. But I'm going to stick with no salt. In a rocks glass, let's add some ice. And now we're just going to strain right in there. Look at that. Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Hey, Carlos.
Yes.
Everyone, can you go over the ingredients one more time, maybe slowly?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so the ingredients again, fresh lime juice, 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lime juice in your tin, 1/2 ounce of the agave syrup. Then you're going to add an apple wedge, green apple wedge. You're going to cut it up, throw it in there. 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, boom, boom. And 2 ounces of whatever tequila that you're using at home. Then you're going to muddle everything, add some ice, shake it up, and we're going to strain it right into the rocks glass filled with ice. And now the last ingredient, which is the garnish. Garnish is very important in cocktails. First of all, it makes the cocktail look pretty, but it also really enhances all the flavor profiles. Now, I have a piece of mint right here. Now, before you place it on top, there's something that I want you to do. I kind of forgot the name. I don't know if anybody over here could help me. That name of Paul Rudd's movie where he's like, slap of the best, man. Well, you're going to do this. What is it?
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Is it Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Paul Rudd? All right, so I guess it's Forgetting Sarah Marshall. But what you're going to do is you're going to slap the mint. And you're going to release all those oils, all those aromatics. And you're going to go like this. And now you're going to throw it up top. Because when you bring up the cocktail, the first thing is the aromas. The second thing is the taste. So let's see how it tastes. Salud, mi gente. I mean, just a delicious, refreshing cocktail. And to be honest, you can find all the ingredients at your local grocery store. So hopefully you like it. And if you don't like it, just please make sure to type it in the chat. Let me know if you like this cocktail. If you don't like it, maybe you wanted to add some mezcal. Maybe you wanted to add some other spirit in there. Or you wanted to change the apples for strawberries, blueberries. Good?
We have another question. Can you use 3 ounces of tequila?
So, if you use 3 ounces of tequila, I mean, if you like that booze forward flavor, that is totally fine. But the 2 ounces is really going to keep that balance because when you're making cocktails, you don't want it to be overly powered on the booze. You kind of want all the ingredients to kind of play a song with each other. You want that harmony and just to taste good. But if you want a little bit more, go ahead, add 3 ounces, man.
Kim wants to know why fresh lime juice and not the bottled stuff.
All right, so Kim wants to know why fresh lime juice and bottled juice is different in making cocktails. Well, when you use fresh lime in the drinks, like I said before, you're grabbing that lime, you're really releasing all those oils. You're gonna get more flavor to them, and you're gonna get that nice acidity, also some nice sweetness from the limes. If you're using the bottled limes, unfortunately, it's going to taste like the plastic bottle that it came in, or it's just not gonna taste like that fresh ingredient that you want in your drinks. So you might need to change up the ratios sometimes. But, if you're in a hurry and you need to make a cocktail and you cannot buy any limes, it's totally fine to use bottled limes. I am not hating on any of that stuff because, sometimes it's out of the budget to, be throwing a party for 100 people and you can't afford buying a lot of limes. Then the bottled limes is totally fine.
Mike would like to know your thoughts on mezcal instead of tequila.
Nice. All right, Mike. So, thoughts on mezcal and tequila. Well, I love both. Actually, my daytime job is I am the agave spirit specialist, so I educate liquor stores and educate restaurants on tequila. So tequila, mezcal, literally anything that comes from Mexico. Now, my thought is that mezcal is not for everybody. It's something that you really have to appreciate in order to like. And you kind of just have to keep trying. But the cool part about it is like once you find your right mezcal, you're never going back. I love mezcal, especially in cocktails and also just sipping it by itself. So if you have some mezcal at home and tequila at home right now, I highly recommend doing a split base of 1 ounce tequila and 1 ounce mezcal to kind of just add a little smoke flavor to the cocktail. And I think that that'll work. And even if you don't want to put too much mezcal, do 1.5 ounces of tequila with 1/2 ounce of mezcal. And that might be able to help you into getting to mezcal, if for anybody that doesn't like mezcal. Any other questions, Dan? Awesome. All right, so now let's move forward. Let's move on to the next cocktail that we're going to be doing. Now, this one is a super refreshing cocktail. This is called the Miss Morristown French 75. So it is a take on a French 75 that's made usually with gin. Now, a French 75 is made with gin, fresh lemon, some simple syrup, and some Prosecco or anything bubbly to top it off. But I changed it up a little bit for some vodka and added a little bit of coloring and more flavor to it by adding cranberry to it. So what we're going to need is our trusty shaker. And again, if you do not have these shakers, don't fuzz. Go grab a mason jar, a Yeti mug, literally anything that has a lid, you're going to be able to follow along with what I'm doing. All right, so grab your shakers. Let's put it to the side. And now the main ingredient in this is going to be the vodka. But you always want to start with the least expensive ingredient just in case you make a mistake. You don't want to waste any of that delicious alcohol that's going into your cocktail. So let's grab our jigger, and we're going to be doing 1 ounce of cranberry juice. And you can either do fresh cranberry. The only thing with fresh cranberries is that you got to be careful when you're juicing them. You know, they could be really acidic. So usually people add some sugar, but ocean spray is totally fine too. We're going to be adding 1 ounce. Now the next ingredient is going to be our lime juice. So again, we have to roll this out to release all those oils and make it nice and soft. Let's cut it right in half. And now we're just going to squeeze out 3/4 of an ounce of that. Look at that. I mean, I wish you could really smell all these aromatics. Everything's amazing. And right now I'm doing, you know, cocktail one by one. But if you're throwing a party or anything like that, you could, you know, juice ahead. So you have everything ready for your guest. And now we're just going to throw the fresh lime juice right in there. And now you need your simple syrup. That simple syrup, again, like I said before, I know some people might be watching their weight and they might not want to use sugar or they're on a healthy diet, whatever. But if you're drinking cocktails, sugar goes a long way. You need the texture for the drinks to taste good. So we're going to be doing 3/4 of an ounce of the simple syrup right in there. And now the final ingredient, we're going to be adding vodka. Well, not the final ingredient because we still need to add some bubbles, but we're going to be adding some vodka now. I'm using Tito's vodka. Let's do 2 ounces. Right in there. Perfect. Now we need some ice because we want this cocktail nice and cold. And also, you don't want to add the bubbles in here because if you add the Prosecco, the champagne, whatever bubbles you're adding into the cocktail, if you add it in here, it's just going to explode on you, and you do not want that at all. Let's grab the big shaker. Yes.
So, Ellie would like to know if you could just swap out the vodka for gin.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, so Ellie, you could swap out the vodka for gin if you like. I highly recommend going with like a New American style gin. And what does that mean? A New American style gin is like your flavored gins. Think of like Hendrix. Think of Whitley Neal. Think of Empress Gin. Instead of using something more juniper heavy like your London Dries, which is your typical Tanqueray, your Bombay Sapphire, I recommend something with a little more oomph if you're trying to, you know, combine it with the cranberry and the fresh. Yes.
And then Quaid, I believe is how you pronounce it. But they would like to know if you could repeat the ingredients again.
Yeah, so Quaid. Yes, I could repeat the ingredients again. All good. So we're going to be doing 1 ounce of your cranberry, 3/4 ounce of your fresh lime juice right into the tin, 3/4 ounce of simple syrup, 1 ounce of the cranberry juice, 2 ounces of your vodka, add some ice, and now we're going to shake it up. Any other questions, Dan, at the moment?
Not right now.
All right, no questions so far, so let's grab our shaker. Hit it 2 times like I always say because you don't want it to explode on you. Think of your favorite song because If you don't dance while shaking up the cocktails, it is not going to taste the same. I think that should be a shirt. All right. Perfect. Let's crack it open. Oh my God. It's nice and pink. Let's grab our coupe glass. If you don't have a coupe glass, you could use a martini glass. You could also use a flute. And we're just going to strain it right in there. Perfect. And not all the way. Now we're going to top it off with the Prosecco. Look at that. Look at all those bubbles just mixing everything. I mean, this cocktail just looks so refreshing. So refreshing. I love it. And now to finish it off, I like to do a nice lime wheel right on top. Just so you have some color contrast in there. That's also important because cocktails are all visual. You know, it needs to look pretty and obviously it needs to taste good. And we're just going to throw that in there. And there you have the Miss Morristown French 75 made with vodka, not gin. But if you want gin, go ahead and add it. Salud. Oh, man. I could really... That's really good. That's just really, really tasty stuff. I mean, the combination of the vodka with the cranberry, the lime, the sugar, and then the Prosecco is heaven in a glass. Fantastic. So, any questions so far? Please make sure to drop them in the comments so I could, just keep going. So, no more questions right now, but please take your time and hit that subscribe button because, like I said before, we need subscribers, we need viewers in order to keep making this type of content. And hopefully you're enjoying it. Please leave on the chat if you're enjoying this. If I'm making a fool out of myself, even leave it in there. It's all good. Are we good? We good, Dan? All right, so let's move on to the third cocktail. Now, this is I call it the Strix Media Old Fashioned. Now, your typical old fashioned is your booze with your sugar, your bitters, and you stir it and you serve it over ice. I'm literally going to be doing the same thing, but that sugar component, I'm going to swap it out and I'm going to be adding a little bit of maple syrup. I love maple syrup, especially in my pancakes, but it's also delicious in a cocktail. So what we're going to need for this is actually a mixing glass. We're not going to shake this cocktail. We're going to stir it. Now, if you don't have this mixing glass, that is fine. Go grab a pint glass. Maybe grab a mason jar, something that's round, so you're able to stir. Now, what we're going to add here is the least expensive ingredient first, just in case you make a mistake. You don't want to waste any of that delicious booze. So I'm just swapping out the brands. There you go. All right. Now, the first ingredient is our Angostura bitters. We're going to do 4 dashes. Now, again, with the bitters, don't be scared of going like this. You don't want that. You're not going to have the right amount of bitters that you need. You know, you want to grab it, open it, and dash with a purpose. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Now, I know some old fashions, you muddle the orange, you muddle the cherry. This is a new style old fashioned, something a little bit cleaner, and it's how I like it, and hopefully you like it too. So we have 4 dashes of the Angostura bitters, and now we're going to do 2 dashes of the orange bitters. 1, 2. Perfect. Now we need that sweetness for this drink, and we need some maple syrup. So we're going to add a 1/4 ounce of maple syrup into the cocktail. Look at that. Right there. Nice and thick. It's just really going to elevate the flavors of the bourbon because naturally you already have, all those, the sweet quality of the bourbon being aged in, the barrels. So all those toffee vanilla flavors are really going to get enhanced by adding that maple syrup. So the next ingredient is your whiskey. I'm using Maker's Mark 46, something a little stronger. And we're going to do 2 ounces. Now, if you're a fan of rye, use some rye. If you're a fan of scotch, use some scotch. It's all good. I mean, this is like a blank canvas recipe because you could change out the spirit. Just try to stick with the darker spirits. So if you have, for example, a H rum, an H tequila, maybe you want to play around with some tequila and mezcal, blend them together. As long as you have 2 ounces of alcohol in there, and then a 1/4 ounce of any simple syrup, and 4 dashes of that Angostura bitters, and then 2 dashes of your orange bitters, you're going to have a perfect balanced cocktail every single time. So we have that. And now let's add some ice. Now the reason, let me put the ice in there first. Now the reason we're stirring this cocktail and not shaking the cocktail is because we really want to control the dilution of the drink. Yes, question?
Ingredients, please.
Yes, of course. So ingredients. We're going to use the mixing glass. If you don't have a mixing glass, you can use a pint glass or a mason jar. We're going to do 4 dashes of Angostura bitters, the yellow top, 2 dashes of your orange bitters, a 1/4 ounce of your maple syrup, and then 2 ounces of your bourbon, rye, blended scotch, or any aged spirit that you have at home. And we're going to throw it right into the mixing glass. And now we add some ice and we stir. And like I was saying before, you really want to stir this cocktail because you want to control the dilution. You don't want to break apart the spirit or anything. You don't want to break apart the ingredients. You don't want to froth them up. You know, you want a clear, consistent color. So I recommend just tasting it to make sure it's not over diluted. Almost about like 40 to 45 repetitions. It's perfect. I mean, this is one of my favorite cocktails just to sip on because it's boozy, but you can still just sip on it and you get to taste all the ingredients that are going in there. Now we're going to fill up our rocks glass with some ice. And we're going to strain everything in there. Look at that. Just so pretty. I mean, the color is so elegant. This is something that you might have, you know, if you're at a wedding or, you know, you're dressed up with a nice suit, with a nice tuxedo, you're feeling cool. You know, get the sunglasses out even though, you know, the sun never sets in the land of the cool inside the house. So it's all good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cut a nice orange peel right there. And then a nice lemon peel. Now the reason that I'm doing this is because we want some aromatics on top of the cocktail. And like I always say, you need aromatics because you see the cocktail and then you bring it up to your nose. So you want to make sure it smells good. But before we do this, we put it on top. You want to take out all this white part, the white pith. If you don't take this out, it's going to create some bitterness that we don't want in our drink. So we're just going to cut it out. It's looking good. Perfect. All right, and we're going to do the same thing with the orange. So usually bartenders, you know, mixologists, whatever you want to call them, is we prep this ahead. So you're seeing some behind the scenes stuff. And now I always like to make my peels look pretty and presentable because at the end of the day, the cocktail needs to look good, needs to smell good, and needs to taste good. So we're going to put that to the side. Let's cut it one more time. I like to do squares, but you could get creative. Sorry, rectangles, not squares. All right, and now what we're gonna do is just up top, skin out. We're gonna express right on top of the cocktail. And then we're just gonna rim the glass to the side. Throw it right in there. And we're gonna do the same thing with the lemon. So express, we're gonna do the same thing and throw it right on top. And I know, you know, some old fashions go with the cherry. I'm not doing a cherry. This is my version. This is how I like it. And hopefully you do too. And this is the Strix Media Old Fashioned. Strix Media Maple Old Fashioned. So hopefully you like it. Salud. Delicious. Just hits the spot. Really, really tasty. Dan, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah, so can you mix in the glass you drink from?
So the question is, can you mix in the glass that you drink from? If it's for you, totally fine. I just recommend rinsing it with a little bit of water so you take out those other flavors from the previous cocktail, and then you could add your new drink up top.
Anyone else have any questions?
Anyone else have any questions? Please make sure to just drop it in the comments, drop it in the chat, and if you still haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And also, if you're watching on your TV or on your phone, take some screenshots and tag us at Strix Media, at StickyCounters, and at Cocktails by C. Any other questions?
None so far.
So no questions so far, but let's bring out the cocktails one more time. I mean, also, look at the colors. We have a margarita cocktail here with some green apples. We have the Miss Morristown French 75, nice and pink. And then we have the Strix Media Old Fashioned. Just these cocktails are perfect for the summer. And even an old fashioned, you might think that an old fashioned it's something that you might only have during the winter. An old fashioned is such a classic cocktail. You could have it for lunch, for dinner, a nice digestive, and it's just really, really delicious. It's a staple. But if nobody has any other questions, any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah. What is your go-to drink at home in the evening?
Ooh, go-to drink at home in the evening. So I'm a big fan of tequila, and I have to say it's just literally tequila, neat, or on the rocks. But if I'm getting crafty at home, I do margaritas all the time. That is my all-time favorite cocktail to make, and it was actually the first cocktail that I learned how to make when I started my bartending career.
Do you have a favorite way to use spirits such as Hendrick's gin or Gosling's rum?
Yeah, so good question. My favorite way to use Gosselin rum or Hendrick's gin. Now, let's start with the gin. Let's start with the Hendrick's gin. What is Hendrick's gin made from? So naturally, you're getting those cucumber flavors. You're also getting some floral notes from the roses. So you could even do a French 75, which is that classic cocktail that we just made. So your gin, lemon, sugar, Prosecco. But if you want to get a little bit, more creative, maybe add a little bit of fresh cucumbers. So 2 ounces gin, an ounce of fresh cucumbers, maybe some lavender, something a little bit floral to go with the cucumbers. So when I create cocktails, I like to think of food and things that I really enjoy eating, because if it tastes good on a plate in a solid, it's also going to taste good in a liquid form, as long as you're able to play around with the measurements and the ingredients. So Hendrick's gin, a little bit of cucumber juice, and then maybe just a little bit of club soda on top of that, and a squeeze of lime if you don't want to get too complicated. Now, if you do want to get complicated, I highly recommend doing almost like a mojito. So your gin, fresh lime juice, some sugar cane, muddle some mint, shake it up, and top it off with club soda. It's just such a refreshing cocktail. Now, with the Gosling's rum, now we're dealing with something that's, on the darker side, something with a little bit more flavor, more punch. Usually when you make a mojito, you make it with your clear rum. But with the darker rum, start thinking, like boozier cocktails, like an old-fashioned Manhattan. But if you don't like those boozy options, I highly recommend this drink called the Paper Plane. Now, a Paper Plane cocktail is originally made with your bourbon, Aperol, lemon, and Amaro. But you could swap out that bourbon and add that Gosling rum into it, and it's going to make a delicious cocktail. And the best part about it, it's all equal parts. So you could do 1 ounce of your Gosling's rum, 1 ounce of fresh lemon, 1 ounce of Aperol, and 1 ounce of Amaro. And shake it up and throw it in a nice coupe glass like this. And it's going to be so tasty. Any other questions, Dan?
Kara would like to know, do you bartend full-time, and can she come visit you?
Kara, so unfortunately, I do not bartend full-time anymore. I work for a distribution company, and I do events like this, but also I educate people on, educate like restaurants, liquor stores, or even yourself on tequila, mezcal, and anything that comes from Mexico. So like sotoles, raicillas, bacanoras, and just agave spirits in general. But it's if you want to do a live event, please just reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to set these events up. Or I could even go to your house and shake some things up over there.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about the tools and the importance of the tools?
Yeah. So Dan has a very important question. He said, "Why are the tools so important?" Well, very important. First of all, because you really want to create an experience for the guest. You want to have a balanced cocktail every single time. So why are the shakers important? Well, shakers, you need to shake up your cocktail. You need to emulsify all the flavors. You need to break them down. You need to dilute them to the proper dilution to make the cocktail good. Now, the jigger. You need the jigger in order to measure out the cocktails and always have a consistent drink every single time, because it is the worst thing if you go to a bar and you see your friend and he's the only one that's making a great cocktail, but then you see somebody else coming in and they're just free pouring. And I don't care how long you've been behind the bar, and all that. To be honest, you need a measuring tool in order to have a balanced cocktail. So very important. And you don't have to buy these. Like I said before, you could get away with it with your shot glass or the solo cup or even a teaspoon or a tablespoon. That is fine. Then we have the strainer. Now this strainer, let me grab this one. The Hawthorne strainer goes on top of your cocktail. Why is this important? Well, when you're straining the drinks, this little spring right here is blocking all the unwanted goods. So if you don't want those ice chips, maybe the apple that we muddled, we don't want it in the cocktail. This is going to prevent for all of that to not be in your drink. So you have something more clean. And then you have your muddler. Now the muddler, like I said before, is the tool that you need to break down. Let's say you want to break down some celery, some carrots, or you want to get creative, some beets, the apples like we did. You need the muddler to really just squeeze in and get all those flavors out. And then the most important ingredient, I guess, the most important ingredient and tool is ice. You need that dilution always. I know there was a trend going on about building hot cocktails. So literally you would just build all your ingredients in a glass, you would stir it and just serve it to the guest. It works with some types of ingredients, but at the end of the day, I feel like you need that ice for the proper dilution in order to have more a refreshing and to have an experience behind when you're drinking a drink. Any other questions, Dan?
Any good ideas for a coffee cocktail?
Ooh,
I love that idea.
yeah. So any good ideas for coffee cocktails? Great question.
By Erica.
By Erica. So thank you, Erica, for that question.
Shout out to Erica.
Yeah, shout out to Erica for that great question. I love coffee cocktails. So off top of my head, we'll start off with this one. The espresso martini is one of the most delicious cocktails. It's funny because my whole family loves it. My wife, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, like we all love espresso martinis. It just hits the spot every time with the right amount of booze and the right amount of caffeine. But you need to know how to measure it because you need 1.5 ounces of regular vodka or vanilla vodka to add just a little bit more flavor. 1.5 ounces of your favorite coffee liqueur. I highly recommend Mr. Black cold brew coffee liqueur. It's not too sweet. It's going to have more of a coffee taste when you're shaking it up in your cocktail. And then 1 ounce of cold espresso. The espresso needs to be cold. If you just get it off your machine, your espresso machine, it's going to be too hot. So when you put it into the tin with the ice and all that, it's going to dilute the ice. So now instead of having, the right amount of like 15 to 18% of water dilution, now you're going to have maybe 20. And it might sound crazy, but it does add a difference when you're shaking up the cocktail. It's going to taste a little too watered down. So again, 1.5 ounces of your vanilla or regular vodka, 1.5 ounces of Mr. Black cold brew coffee liqueur, or your, Kahlua, anything like that, and 1 ounce of cold espresso. Add some ice. Think of your favorite song, shake it up, and then you put it right into a coupe glass or martini glass, and then you finish it off with, you could do 3 espresso beans or a little grated nutmeg right on top to kind of spice things up a little bit. Now, that is my first thing that I would do with a coffee cocktail. Now, I'm going to tell you a really innovative coffee cocktail that I made, and it might sound really weird to you, but I got to tell you, it tasted delicious. So it was a take on a cold fashion, almost like an old fashioned. So I did 2 ounces of rye whiskey, and instead of adding, like the maple syrup or the 1/4 ounce of that sugar, I added a 1/4 ounce of cold brew liqueur. So I did that, and then I did 4 dashes of the bitters, of the Angostura bitters, but then I changed it up, and instead of doing orange bitters, I did sesame oil. Now I know you're like, Carlos, that sounds disgusting. Sesame and coffee? Does not taste good. It tastes delicious. It's so nutty, the sesame oil, that it just brings out more of that coffee flavor. And it's just super delicious. And because it's oil, it's not really going to disappear when you stir it. So you're going to have like little pockets of oil in your cocktail. And it might look weird, but I got to tell you, once that hits your lip, you don't need no chapstick. I mean, that thing is just soft. And it's so damn delicious when you sip it. And it's just a great cocktail. And then you finish it off with some orange peel on top and call it a day. Any other questions, Dan?
Favorite bar in New York City for great cocktails?
Ooh, favorite bar in New York City. So, I mean, the classic PDT, Death and Co. Company, Dead Rabbit. Those are my top three. But I do have to say, back in, when was it? 7 years ago, when I was bartending at the Washington House in Baskin Ridge. Shout out to those guys. My buddy Mark Cadasco, he was the general manager at the time, and that's where I actually met my wife, Samantha. Mark was a big person in the cocktail industry. He just loved making cocktails and all that. He was one of the reasons why I got into this industry. But he took me and Sam to employees only in the city. And I gotta tell you, these guys were rock stars. Now, the cool thing about them is that, you know how I said that it's good, you need to have your measuring tools to have all your cocktails balanced. Well, these guys, what they did is a different method. They had their pint glasses, but they would measure the cocktails with the fingers, Instead of doing counts, they would do it by parts. So it was a small bar, literally super busy, always a line to get in. But they're like, music's pumping, they're like dancing, pumping out here, let me show you. So let's say you have your vodka, right? So they're like literally going like this. Instead of counting, they're doing it by parts. So right there, you have 2 parts. And then since you have 2 parts of the vodka, now you're going to do only 1 finger of maybe fresh lime juice. So that's going to be the 1 part. And then if you want to balance that out, you're going to do the same thing of the simple syrup. And then maybe the same amount of sugar. And then you shake it up, make sure to taste, because you don't want to give a crappy cocktail to your customers. But these guys were so cool. I mean, I fell in love with bartending. One of the reasons I fell in love with bartending was just by looking at them work. But PDT, Death & Co., Employees Only, and Dirt Rabbit, top 4 cocktail bars that I really enjoy. I haven't been there in a while, but really great.
How about a bonus cocktail?
Bonus cocktail? Let's see what I got if we're going to be doing a bonus cocktail. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I got to step to the side to grab some tools. All right, so let's do a bonus cocktail. Now, this is super easy to make, and it's also just a really refreshing cocktail. So, in Mexico, you have the margarita, right? But then you also have the paloma. A paloma is such a delicious cocktail, and the best part about it is that you need 2 ingredients. This is the original version. Now, obviously, you get a little bit more creative and, squeeze out your fresh grapefruit juice and use some fresh lime juice and do some agave and then the tequila and all that. But in reality, all you need is tequila and you need some grapefruit soda. If you don't have Fever Tree, you could also use Squirt. You could use Fresca. Anything that has that grapefruit flavor would work totally fine. Now, what I like to do is actually shake it up. Shake up the tequila and the fresh lime juice, just so I have something really chilled. I'm just really into like cold cocktails. So again, we're gonna start off with our small tin, and we're gonna build a cocktail in here. And we need a 1/4 ounce of your fresh lime juice, and this is gonna add that acidity again, because there's some sweetness in that grapefruit soda. And like I said before, tequila and lime, perfect marriage. Nobody cheats. So good. So we have that in there. And now let's grab some tequila. Now what I'm using today is actually one of the most popular tequilas at the moment. And that is Terramana, which is owned by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yes, The Rock. This guy put out this Terramana tequila, and it is killing it right now. And it's actually really tasty. And, there might be some people that are like, oh, another celebrity tequila. What is going on? Well, I got to tell you, The Rock actually put some love in making this product. And me being, a fan of tequila, this is actually a really good product. Also, in their hacienda, their distillery, they only make one type of tequila, and it's the Terramana. Other companies actually are making tequila for like 20, 40 different tequila companies. So it's good to see that they're only producing one type of tequila in that facility. So we have a 1/4 ounce of the fresh lime juice in there. And now we're going to be adding 1.5 ounces of this beautiful Terramana Reposado tequila right into the tin. Now we need some ice. Like I say, you always want the cocktail to be nice and chilled. Let's throw that in there. Put that to the side. All right, now we're gonna grab the big tin, put it right on top, hit it 2 times, flip it over, think of your favorite song, because if you don't dance, the cocktail's not gonna taste the same. Crack it open, do a little fancy elbow trick right there. Let's grab our rocks glass, Collins glass, whatever you have available at the moment. Just gonna strain in there. Boom. There you go. Awesome. Now that we have that, we're gonna add some more ice. And now we're gonna crack open the grapefruit soda. There you go. And then we're just gonna top it off. I mean, like, another pink color. I mean, it's just refreshing. This is a great cocktail for summer. You know, literally 3 ingredients: fresh lime juice, grapefruit soda, tequila. It's gonna hit the spot every single time. And then to finish it off, what we're gonna do is just a nice, again, lime wheel that we're gonna throw up top. So let's grab that to the side, throw it right in there. And this is the bonus cocktail, the Paloma, or should we call it the Terramana Paloma. So thanks to Rock for really putting out a fantastic product. Salud. It just hits the spot every single time. It's so refreshing. Any other questions, Dan?
A substitute for grapefruit soda.
Substitute for grapefruit soda. If you have fresh grapefruits, I highly recommend squeezing the fresh grapefruits and just doing 1.5 ounces of your tequila, add some ice, and then top it off with the grapefruit juice. So it's almost like a Greyhound. You know, a Greyhound is vodka and grapefruit juice, but in this case, you're going to be doing tequila. But then to add that soda flavor, the effervescence, you're going to need some club soda. So you finish it off with club soda. So tequila, grapefruit juice, club soda.
Can you go over the recipe again for the bonus cocktail?
Yes. So the recipe for the bonus cocktail, you're going to grab your shakers. You're going to add 1/4 ounce of fresh lime juice for the acidity. Then we're going to add 1.5 ounces of your favorite tequila. I highly recommend going with the Reposado. So something that has been aged because it's going to just have a little bit more oomph that you want into the drink. So 1.5 ounces. You're going to shake it up with ice. Strain it into your favorite glass. It could be a rocks, Collins. It could even be a martini. You know, you're at home. Doesn't matter. There's no rules when you're at home. We're going to strain it, add some ice, and we're going to top it off with a grapefruit soda. I'm using Fever Tree grapefruit soda, but you could also use Squirt or Fresca. Any other question, Dan? Anyone have any questions at the moment? Should we wrap it up? Is everybody tipsy? I don't know what's going on. I wish I could really see everybody. So good. But again, please make sure to hit that subscribe button because we do need it so we can keep making this content. And also, if you have your phone available, take a little snapshot or, you know, just take a little photo. And please make sure to tag at Cocktails by C, at StickyCounters, at Strix Media, at Miss Morristown, at Jersey Club Sports, at the Great Gatsby Salon. And, you know, hopefully you could remember that. I don't know if, Dan, can you write all that in the chat or no? Okay.
I'll try my best.
No, all good. But yeah, any other questions before we wrap this up? Nothing?
We're at like a 10-second delay, so.
Any questions?
Why don't you tell everyone about 86 and what we're doing on our channel besides
Okay.
this one?
Awesome. So another question is, what is all these footage that we're putting up on Sticky Counters? Well, we have a lot of things going on for Sticky Counters. Apart from this live event that we just did for the cocktail class, virtual mixology, we do have a show called 86 that we're launching soon, I promise. I know if you've seen the coming soon and all that, it is coming. It is coming. But 86 is a cocktail competition where 2 mixologists go head to head to compete for bragging rights and $500 cash prize. Now they have 30 minutes to create a one-of-a-kind cocktail that they have 30 minutes to create that one-of-a-kind cocktail using the secret baskets. And they have to use literally everything in the basket. And the cool part about it is that every ingredient and everything that they have to do, like the syrups, the juicing, everything is from scratch. So you're going to be able to see some behind-the-scenes footage, because I know when you go to a bar, you know, everything's already set up. Your cocktail is going to be done in 45 to 50 to, you know, a minute. And you're going to have it right in front of you. But there's a lot of work that goes behind that, like behind the scenes for the prepping. And that's what we're going to be able to showcase on 86. And also, 30 minutes, it might sound like a lot of time, but those minutes, they go by real quick. So stay tuned for the launch of 86. That's going to be on StickyCounters YouTube, StickyCounters Facebook, and StickyCounters, that's it, sorry, Facebook and YouTube. We can't post it on Instagram. It's way too long. But hopefully you really enjoy the content, because it's a lot of hard work that we've been putting on that. And yeah, I mean, with that said, if nobody has any more questions, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that took the time. You know, it is Wednesday, so like I said before, halfway to the weekend. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining and being part of the first virtual cocktail class for StickyCounters. And let's see, you know, the response from this, and maybe we'll do a next one, a follow-up one, and we'll shake up some more cocktails, tell some more jokes, and share some more stories. And hopefully I'll see everybody soon. And with that said, ciao mi gente, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Salud.